Now I completely understand why Brian McKnight's older children have come out completely speaking ill of him, because the fact that his son Nico just tragically lost his life after a battle with cancer, and instead of him coming out doing a dedication post to say, oh my gosh, I'm devastated, even though we were estranged, I'll always miss him, I'll always love him, and I wish things were different, let this be a cautionary tale that life is short, and that, we had beautiful memories growing up, or I remember this, that, and the third. Instead, he condemns the mother of his child, talking about the fact that may God have mercy on her soul because he refused treatment when I was offering him the top oncologist. Me and my current wife were offering him treatment in our home and he declined it. So may God have mercy on her soul and I sleep well because I know the truth. Didn't say a single thing about his son. Didn't say he was a beautiful boy. Didn't say I love him. Didn't say anything that made sense. Instead, he used the situation to vindicate his character.
I don't normally condemn people to hell, but Brian McKnight has a full scholarship.
Wow, Brian McKnight has really sunken below to a new level of deadbeat dadness, because at this point what he's doing right now is straight up evil. Brian saying that his son Niko McKnight, who recently lost his battle with colon cancer, got what was coming to him and ain't feeling any way about failing to reconcile with Nico, which was one of his last wishes before he passed away. Child, Brian has been feuding with his kids for a minute, calling them products of sin, and going out of his way to prop up his new family, saying that he has much better kids now and is more focused on being a father to them than the kids that he had first. But still, snubbing his own child, who only wanted his father's love and attention in his final moments, is straight up diabolical. I mean, even the devil himself must be scared of this man, because it really doesn't get any lower than this.
This is pure evil. I know we overuse this term, but he's truly a narcissist. His post about his son's death, he talks about himself multiple times and all of the things that he offered to do to help his son. Mind you, this is the same son he spent the last 10 years denying. Why would your son want to spend his last days with you and the family you replaced him with? I'm telling you right now, that wife of his better watch out, because this karma is not going to be cute.
Let's get into this messy drama, y'all, because this whole situation between Brian and his kids is just something else. And can you believe that this is the same man who had us falling in love in the late 90s and early 2000s? I'll tell you one thing, I could never listen to Back at One the same way again. Or do I ever cross your mind? You know why? Because his kids ain't crossing his mind in the way that they should. For those who don't know, Brian has 4 biological adult children, aside from the ones that he currently claims in his marriage to Leilani Mendoza. Okay, so let me break this down. There's Brian McKnight Jr. and Niko McKnight, whom he had with his ex-wife, Julie McKnight. They were college sweethearts. Then there's his daughter, Brianna McKnight, and he also has another daughter who doesn't want to be in the spotlight. We don't even know her name. It's gotten to the point where he doesn't acknowledge his eldest children at all. But it wasn't always like this. When his sons were talking about getting into music, Brian always bragged about how proud he was of them and how he was looking forward to seeing them follow in his footsteps.
I see your sons behind you. Are they trailing you, and not just right now, but in music?
Well, we just started our record label, Trifecta Records. They have their first release there. This is the rock band Broken Robots. My son's behind me. And Marry Your Daughter's out 2/14 next week, and it's our official first release. I'm really excited.
How proud are you?
Oh, look at that smile right there. Come on, Oh, yeah.
So do they sound anything like you?
They sound just like me, except they're much better.
Okay. Are you singing tonight?
I don't know. I kind of want to be a fan, but if they ask me, how could I say no? Hey, this is Brian McKnight, and you're watching Studio Q.
Nico even performed with his dad on Fox's The Morning Show with Mike and Juliet, and he was very much an active father in their lives at that point. In 2017, he married his current wife, Leilani Mendoza, and literally just a few years later, things started to look very different. Sometime in 2019, Brian hinted that there was a bit of tension between him and his children. He said that he had been there for his kids, supporting them and giving them advice. He also said that he never missed child support before and wouldn't do anything to hurt any of his kids.
Anyone who knows me knows over the last 20 years, 30 years now as a matter of fact, that I've been there for my children every step of the way. Until recently, and let's be clear, my 2 sons are 30 and 27. Not 12, not 13, but 30 and 27. Now, my daughter's about to turn 18. That's another story I'll get to in a second. I've never missed a day of child support. I've never done anything adverse to my children whatsoever. I've always been there. I've always been there with advice, whether they took it or not.
Well, Brian's oldest son, Brian Jr., quickly clapped back, saying, "I don't think there is any situation that merits the way my father has chosen to treat my brother, my sisters, and his grandchildren, one of which being his firstborn's first son, who bears our name." His daughter Brianna also said something about their father staying away from them and how painful it was, and she was thankful that her brothers were there to fill the void. And baby, from then on, it was like all hell broke loose.
The only fault is that I gave my children everything that I didn't have in the hopes that they would appreciate it, because I know how much I would have appreciated it when I was their age. I would tell you as parents out there, entitling your children is probably one of the worst things you can do, and I know I am guilty of that. For whatever reasons, I'm guilty of that. Tough love is a tough thing as a parent to try to institute to your children, because you want to help them as much as you can, and I did as much as I possibly could. When I stopped doing that for them, BJ was 25 and Nico was 22. And it wasn't like I completely cut them off at that point. That happened much later.
In 2023, Brian and his wife Leilani welcomed their first child together. And can you guess what they decided to name him? Brian McKnight Jr. I mean, he gave his son the same name that he had already given his eldest son. But do you know what makes this even more messy? He announced his wife's pregnancy on Brian Jr.'s birthday. Feuding with your family is one thing, but Brian is just next level disgusting petty for this. Child, and you can bet the folks came for him, but Brian didn't back down at all. He doubled down, in fact. He said that he was sticking with the name because he wanted everyone to know that this child was his legacy, his only one true namesake. So much so that he changed his middle name to match the name of his new baby, just to make sure that they legally shared the same name. And this was just so sad because Brian McKnight Jr. responded to this saying that he won't change his name because he's not ashamed of his name that his ancestors had. Niko McKnight also responded to the situation saying, "Any of my family on the McKnight side that is still in contact with my dad, let him know that he is the biggest narcissistic psychopath a-hole for posting all of that ish on BJ's birthday. I know you've seen how spiteful he's been since falling out, and I'm really tired of it." He also took a jab at his daughter Brianna by saying that his stepdaughter is the perfect daughter he's always wanted, and he became a girl dad because of her. He also visited his stepdaughter for a daddy-daughter event at the University of California, which is the same university that his daughter attends, and he just acted like his daughter Brianna didn't exist and that he hadn't been a part of her life all this time. Things got even more serious between Brian McKnight and his kids when he insinuated that his daughter had an incestuous relationship with a cousin, and she sued him for defamation. They ended up settling out of court, and Brian revealed that the road for reconciliation with his kids is officially closed, and he had taken all of them out of his will.
I never abandoned anyone. Our estrangement was mutual, but those posts made any roads towards reconciliation and acknowledging them a dead issue. And I changed my will the next day. I've spent the last 30 plus years building a recognized, respectable name, and ironically, there are still people out there who are trying to smear my name while still carrying it, hoping to use it for their own benefit. I make absolutely no apologies for naming my infant son Brian. I want him and the world to know that he is the one who is my true legacy. So I'll be over here, continuing to love and protect my wife and our children as we continue to love our life.
From the outside looking in, most of us can't even imagine what could have gone so badly with those kids that he would disown them and act like he didn't spend all of those years from their birth being their dad. Now, I know there are times where kids push their parents to make some tough decisions, and sometimes parents can make their children choose to love them from afar. But the fact that they are not cool and he talks crap about them in the way that he does, goes out of his way to hurt their feelings and be as petty and low down publicly as he can, is just plain evil. And even when his son Nico began his battle with cancer, his tone still didn't change. 2 weeks before Nico passed, Brian was asked how many sons he had, and he said 3. Jack, Brian Jr., and Cacao Mateo, which are all children that he gained from his new marriage. But even with his father giving him the cold shoulder, Nico still wanted to reconcile with his father. He was hoping that this moment could give their family the opportunity to come together one last time. This was a quote that he put out in 2024. When I was about to die in the hospital from my complications from my cancer, I just wanted to bury the hatchet and hear him say he loves me. And he told me he couldn't arbitrarily tell me he loves me. Still cuts so deep. Sometimes I wonder if my dad's karma is my close proximity to death. Like maybe if I end up dying, it'll release him from this grip of evil. Nico also tweeted, "If I could just have one more group hug between me, my brother, my mom, and my dad, I'd truly be ready." This is so heartbreaking. And up until he passed, Brian made no point to reach out to his son at all. Sources were saying that he made absolutely no effort to contact or see Nico and didn't care enough to provide help whatsoever. Even after news broke that Niko McKnight had passed away, Brian didn't even acknowledge that his son had passed. And on top of all of that, he did have something to say. He had the audacity to call out his brother Claude McKnight for giving a tribute to his nephew Nico and still blamed his ex-wife Julie for their son not accepting his so-called offer to help.
Big thanks to Claude McKnight's tasteless and self-aggrandizing announcement on TikTok that frankly was not his to make. In my opinion, he inserted himself and used Nico's death as an opportunity instead of letting him pass with respect and dignity. It has instead turned into a circus, a mockery of a life now lost, making this tragedy into a reality show type drama. The self-proclaimed mama bear, may God have mercy on your soul for not allowing him to accept that help and not allowing him to use that line of communication. There is great comfort in knowing God knows the truth and the totality of the whole story. I am truly thankful for the immense peace God has given me, and I've left everything in his hands. I have a clear conscience. The only judgment that matters is God's. My wife, our children, and I are eternally thankful to Almighty God that the suffering has come to an end and grateful for all of your condolences. Thanks to those of you who have known the truth from the beginning and haven't let untruths, half-truths, or slander prejudice your opinion.
All Nico wanted was for his father to say he loved him, and Brian couldn't handle that task. So why would Nico and his wife go to his home for care when Brian made it so obvious that he doesn't love his son? Even when Nico was living through his final moments, Brian still wasn't there. From his statement, he said that he and his new family went to Maui and honored Nico there. He said that his one happiness is that God knows the truth no matter what anyone might say or feel about the situation. And did y'all notice throughout that whole self-serving tribute, he didn't have one positive thing to say about Nico. His brother Claude McKnight didn't say anything wrong or speak out of turn on private issues. And here's what his brother said that got Brian so riled up.
This morning I found out that my nephew, Niko McKnight, passed away. He'd been bravely battling cancer for the last 2 years or so. And I have a lot of feelings right now. I'm not going off a script or anything like that. I'm just going to be raw with how I'm feeling. Nico was one of those amazing kids who was quirky and curious and ridiculously talented. Amazing singer, an amazing guitar player, had a great eye, was a photographer. And just one of those kids that, at least in my estimation, was somebody you always wanted to be around.
Are we crazy? Because what did he say that was so bad? Brian just wanted to use the moment to take one last dig at his late son and his ex-wife, who is still grieving. Brian has 3 different baby mamas with his 4 eldest kids. And that just shows that he really has been the problem all along. Because if he can't get along with any of his kids and doesn't have the decency to offer a kind word to those grieving, I can't imagine how difficult he's been to deal with behind the scenes. Even though Brian McKnight tries to act unbothered about all of this, people are starting to call him out on his behavior because there is no reason to treat any of his kids that way. Some people are not worth the prayers or well wishes. Brian McKnight is one of them. May the anguish of your failures as a father keep you paralyzed in your sleep and become your inescapable hell on earth. Brian McKnight is a piece of ish. Your son died and you got on here and carelessly wrote 4 paragraphs about your new family and clearing your conscience? May you never see the pearly gates. Brian McKnight hates accountability because why is he now blaming his brother for what he said about Nico and their relationship, which was completely tactful and not messy at all? That man makes me sick. You are the problem. But what do y'all think about this whole Brian McKnight situation? Do you think he's right with how he's treating his children? Share your thoughts in the comments and make sure you like and subscribe, because there will be more hot tea coming down the pipeline. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, baddies.